Hi, my name is Sagar Dubey, and this is my final project pitch deck for IST 719 Information Visualization uh, at the iSchool at Syracuse University for the spring semester 2016. My topic is India, studying 3 decades of change, a story through economics, population, and politics from 1991 to the present. For some background, I am an Indian citizen, and hence this topic is of particular interest to me. We're going to start with some of the audience and some of the questions that might find this topic interesting. Uh, this topic might be interesting to psephologists, people who study voting in elections, Indophiles, fans of India and Indian culture and history, economists, and policy planners. This visualization also seeks to highlight some features of the Indian democracy, which is the world's largest democracy, that are not commonly known. And this visualization is intended to also look at uh, what a multi-party democracy looks like. This visualization is also interesting to resource planners. Uh, has the second largest population in the world, nearly 1.3 billion people, and from basic necessities to future planning, uh, it becomes very important to know certain demographic trends. And because it is a democracy, the demographic and political trends tend to go together, which is what this visualization seeks to explore. So why did I choose these years between 1991 and 2011 and to the present? Before 1991, as a lot of you might already know, India had gained independence from the British in 1947. This post-colonial period of India was marked by a definite shift to the left and socialist economic policies in India, as Russia was a close neighbor and an ascendant power at the time. And our colonial experiences had scarred the collective conscience of the country. So this involved features such as 5-year plans and central planning and protectionist regimes. Um, the economic indicators were, frankly, pretty depressing. The annual growth rate was only 3.5%. Contrast that with 2010, where the annual growth rate was 10%. Per capita income was only 1.3%. Everything changed in 1991 with the election of P.V. Narasimha Rao as the Prime Minister of India, who chose Manmohan Singh to become the Finance Minister of India. A short background on these two very interesting personalities. P.V. Narasimha Rao became the Prime Minister of India as a member of the Indian National Congress Party, but it was a minority government. So the only reason they were able to form a government was because there was no other alternative. So the government was formed under very special circumstances, and he chose Manmohan Singh, who was actually a Cambridge-trained economist and previously had no political affiliation, to become the finance minister. Together, these two liberalized the Indian economy and set it on its path to progress and took away many of its Soviet style economic characteristics. So, this had some interesting effects. uh, the impact was immediate and big and felt in the very same decade. So, the decade of 1991. As you can see in this graph from the World Bank, um, the economy in 1991 went from less than $0.4 trillion to currently, it is at about 2.3 trillion US dollars. So the growth was nearly, it looks almost exponential. As the economy boomed, so did the population, and it exploded in a pretty dramatic manner. Nearly 200% from 1991, below zero point 0.5 billion, to currently where it stands at about 1.3 billion people. It's a 200% jump. Because this rapid increase in population happened within 3 short decades, um, and the third decade is still going on, um, this resulted in skewed demographics where India progressively became younger. and it happened so rapidly that currently India has, so 50% of India's population is below the age of 25, and 65% of India's population is below the age of 35. This rapid skewing towards a younger population had an interesting effect on India's politics. India has always been a multi-party democracy. Um, so what this means is that we have many parties, unlike, say, in the United States, where two major parties are so big that they completely overshadow other parties. In India, we have 6 national parties, about 46 state parties, and more than 1,500 local parties. So this could be at a district level or even smaller. So 1991 saw the beginning of what was called coalition politics. So up to 1991, the Indian National Congress, which was the only political party in existence at the time of independence and which had carried India through its post-independence years, finally had a competitor. Finally had competitors, multiple. So in 1991, they only managed to form a minority government. So 232, a 36% vote share, was not enough to give them a majority rule in the legislative body. And this was 1991. So across 7 elections, even this minority government actually ended up into various fractured coalition governments. So coalition governments are where, because one single party does not have a majority, they have to tie up with other national parties or local or state parties in order to give them majority to be able to pass laws and be recognized as a government by the Constitution of India. In 2014, the BJP had a dramatic return to power, and after nearly an entire decade of being out of power, to 282 seats, which gave them majority. So this is the first time that an Indian national party has had majority in the legislative house ever since independence. So having a single party in power means a lot for a country like India. It means that policy implementations get faster. But for the purposes, and many other things, but for the purposes of this particular project, I intend to look at 3 things. Part 1 looks at how a country gets younger. So in this visualization, and I apologize for the quality of my sketch, I intend to have 3 static images of India, with the color showing various age ranges. So age ranges could be from 25 to 35, 15 to 25, etc. And maybe a way to represent median age. I'm not sure what that be or whether that's necessary. So it would be 91, 2001, and 2011. And you can see across these 3 images that India is getting younger. I also wanted to implement a sliding scale. So I would use one image of India and you could just slide the scale across years and you would see India getting younger. But I haven't figured out how to do that yet. I believe that there is a way to do it using the D3 library in JavaScript, but I'm still researching that. Sketch 2 would be showing the political cohesion in the country. So across the 3 decades, I would show political parties across state lines being very different and then forming alliances. So the alliance that allows them to form a government maybe could be one color, and the various parties could be represented by a pattern. And I don't expect the pattern to be too disturbing because you still need a large amount of states in order to even form a coalition. So I will, once the visualization is formed, I will have a better idea. The same logic with the slider applies here. I'm not sure how to implement it yet. Sketch 3 will be about comparing the top 5 states by population and seeing how fast they got young and whether that had any impact on their economic growth. So if they became younger faster, did they also increase their GDP comparatively? Did they grow poorer because younger people needed more things, and or maybe there was a large amount of migration internally, which caused younger people to leave the state? So you can tell a lot by a relatively simple graph. Some of the things to think about are policy implications. So if you have a large amount of young people in this country, and if you think about it, as 50% of 1.3 billion people is a lot of young people who have needs and demands, so that has an impact on the economy. It also has an impact on government, as there is a lot of infrastructure planning to be done and resource optimization for things like natural resources, drinking water, for example, or healthcare services. My major sources for this project are the Indian Election Commission, which makes all the data available publicly about all the elections. So this will give information about political parties. And the Indian Census Bureau, so Office of the Registrar General and Census Commissioner. As you can see, it has all the economic tables available here, but they need to be taken out, parsed, and processed. Um, and this is the Election Commission of India, which has full statistical reports across years and decades, both publicly available sources. So that's it for my project. Please let me know if you have any other questions. Thank you.